A ver. Pero Fortaleza ha cogido a ganar después de que empezó mal, ahora ha ganado todos los partidos, ¿no?
Necesitaba el bus de Millonarios.
¿Cómo?
Necesitaba que Millonarios de ir al bus.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Victoris Triumph Series here, back on a Friday night as usual. I am your host, Becky Rita, here on the analyst desk with Quintic and Kevbo, fourth Courant Kevbo. Is that how you put Courant? Current?
So there's a very long story behind it. Essentially, the guy who I started playing with was part of the sequential food squad, and strawberry was too long, so I went with currant, which is a type of berry that is usually only found in Europe. But I just go by Kebbolol now, so just haven't gotten the graphic change.
All right. Well, either way, you may not be a berry no longer, but you are still Kevbo, and it's great to have both you and Quintic on. Quintic, how are you feeling this evening?
Feeling pretty good.
In general,
Yeah, the first week nerves are gone. I'm ready to break down some exciting games of League of Legends tonight. Really looking forward to it.
Hopefully the teams bring some excitement. Yeah, hopefully the teams just bring some excitement tonight. We don't see any boring compositions, no triple enchanters. No, just really fun 40-minute games. Could we get some actual action? No LCK tonight. I'd actually like to see teams fight for things. Kevbo?
I'm doing well.
Yeah? You're doing well?
I do have some important information for you, though, Becky, that you weren't here for.
Oh, no.
In my prep,
okay.
The support for GLV, their second most played in solo duo, is Blitzcrank. So they also played Talon Jungle. They played it last week in their games, so I'm thinking that we're probably in for a little bit more interesting of a series here, so I'm very excited for that.
Oh yes, interesting is good. At least for the viewers. Will it be good? Will they be good matches? That is a different story entirely. And of course, that's something we're going to break down because our featured matchup for tonight, you can see it on the ticker, is of course not the ticker, but the stream title is of course CE, and I need to look up what that is. It's like chaotic energy. Yeah. Chaos Control, Chaotic Energy versus GLV Emerald. So this matchup is Chaotic Emerald if you combine the two names. So this is great news. We're gonna get to go fast tonight, hopefully.
I'm just wondering though why GLV Emerald has a purple logo and not a green logo.
That is a fantastic question. Have you looked at their logo, zoomed in? I saw it zoomed in for the first time today. I was like, what is this?
I mean, if the viewers tuned in to the podcast on Wednesday, they'll know that this is the battle for the bottom when it comes to the logos at the very least. So hopefully we have some more exciting games on the logos.
Yeah. Logos cannot be the judge of everything, and we don't talk about logos, or we're not going to that much. That's for the podcast exclusively. We're actually going to talk about League of Legends, which is something we don't talk about on the podcast. So let's start with GLV, who they had a 2-1 victory in Week 1 over Nameless Esports Demons. Nameless Esports Demons. They got a 2-1 victory and are currently 1-0 in the season, of course, for series. But their series is rather close in terms of the games, and based on what I saw, they had a very set drafting style that they enjoyed.
Yeah, it was pretty consistent that GLV would take every opportunity to get onto red side, presumably to protect their top laner against worst possible matchups. Their top laner, of course, has a very diverse pool of carries who would absolutely love to be using counter picks as often as possible, even just on R3, right? Protected by bans, as we saw Game 3 when they drafted the Camille. And actually... No, they just full on sent it on the Camille and did not ban any counter picks, come to look at it. But GLV Emerald is a team who in their last series took R1, R2, AD carry support every single time, not the same duo every single time. They just felt that it was best for them to lock in the complete bot lane, even in Game 3 when the Sejuani was first picked, and they have no guarantee that they've seen any champion in the bot lane, right? They're just willing to lock in AD carry support. That seems to be how they're drafting so far.
Yeah, so far what we're seeing. Kevbo, what are you getting from this?
At the very least, I think on the note of the support AD carry, it allows them to lock in something that they're comfortable on early, which I mean can give you a lot of confidence going into games. And we're just gonna have to wait and see if teams actually do punish it super heavily. Obviously, they have lost one of their games. They were 2-1 in their series, like we said, so it was very close. But their top laner is all over the place. Most played in solo duo, according to OPGG, is Rengar top. So hoping to see some Bwipo-esque exciting counter picks possibly for them tonight. Like I said, they also played Talon. They flex it between mid and jungle.
Jungle Talon.
Yep.
Something I don't think I've ever actually seen in a meaningful capacity. Like as a player, both, watching amateur leagues, watching the lowest level of play, the highest level of play. I don't think I've ever seen Talon actually go in the jungle with my 2 eyes. So if we see that tonight, I'm curious how it'll perform. Apparently it beats Poppy, so
yeah. Yeah, it was honestly astonishing to see that they picked Talon into the Poppy and then, presumably just used the few combos he has access to that don't rely on dashes, right? Talon's a pick that we definitely haven't seen much of since his dominance at the end of Season 11. But of course, like I'm sorry.
You are a robot, Quinn. You are a complete robot, audio-wise.
That's funny. Are we better now, or?
No, you are still a robot.
Okay, well, bear with me for a second. I'm going to check my cables and see what's up.
So, anyways,
thank you.
On the topic of robots, Blitzcrank ? Second most played support for Glaive. It is a possibility. I wouldn't expect them to blind pick the Blitzcrank because it's not a good blind pick. But of course, this is always your opportunity to shine. I have yet to, for Victoris, watch or be a part of production for a game that Blitzcrank actually won, which is disappointing. But
tonight's the night.
Like we said, they do have a lot of interesting picks. The other thing I think to note with this matchup is in the mid lane, we have a player on CE here whose name is Dragon Yone, and the mid laner for Glaive, Panda, whose most played is Yone. So Yone going to be highly contested. Sorry? I'm confusion.
Well, Crank is certainly something we'll be looking for. Crank is something that, as we talked about this on the podcast, Crank is a champion that could play very well into some of these enchanter picks and some of these that have just been dominating the meta, and we just do not see it. So the fact that a Crank player is in the game could throw a wrench into the plans of whoever. We're reading Discord messages. There seem to be some Discord issues. We were having some confusion with Discord. So hopefully things will recover soon, ?
Yeah, so are we stable now? Am I audible? Is Kevbo
You are no longer a robot.
Okay,
your humanity has been restored.
That is such a shame that in the middle of my point that happens. But...
I felt so.
So, I mean, now that our technical difficulties are... Becky's laughing at me. It's happened again, hasn't it?
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay.
You're good now.
So now
you were frozen for a second there. I was like, oh god, come on, man, please let him go.
Now that our technical difficulties have been mostly resolved, we can get back to talking about the series, thank goodness. So we were talking about like the volatility of Glaive's picks, right? They have the Talon, they have the Blitzcrank, they have a lot of stuff that can introduce chaos, a lot of stuff that can introduce aggression into the mix, right? Picks that we don't typically see as often, but that have never been bad if you are proficient at the champions. And stuff that, as long as it's in their back pocket, I would be excited to see. Right?
Yeah, and it's something we can compare this to how chaotic energy sort of approach their draft, while GLV has a lot of these very chaotic picks, I guess, more chaotic than chaotic energy. Chaotic energy provides what I can call a very bruiser focused style in terms of drafting, at least from my perspective. They played both blue and red side. They have both won and lost to Zeri Yumi on Zeri Yumi combo when they had it on blue side and when they played against it also with the Zeri Yumi on blue side. And that was against SLK, champions from last split, who then lost to Kiss. So something seems a little strange here with chaotic energy. And I'm not sure I'm a big fan of how they've been approaching the game, but you know, there could be interesting. Bruisers are strong. What do you take from it?
Yeah, well, frankly, I don't think we can call GLV more chaotic than chaotic energy if this team is picking B3 Darius.
That, you know, you're right. Sorry, my bad.
So so chaotic energy's top laner is a Darius main, comfortable on the champion, going to be gravitating towards that whenever possible. If this draft is to be believed, right? But it hasn't paid off for them so far. Like if you give a player their off meta main that they are super comfortable with, and if I'm not mistaken, their top laner is one of the highest ranked player in this lobby, right? Between both teams, the highest LP master. If you're giving that priority player their priority pick like that, and it's still not enough to win you games, then I do have to agree that I'm concerned about the direction their drafts are taking.
Yeah, I think on top of that, while I have been naming the Blitzcrank a lot because, you know, it's my job as the leader of propaganda, a lot of their picks are really poke-heavy enchanters, and I'm expecting to see more of that out of Calthidus here. I wouldn't at all be surprised to see them just slam like a Karma Ezreal lane and just poke them out, especially against all of these bruisers from the side of CE that we're kind of expecting to see come through.
Or, and Becky's going to hate this, both teams do have Yumi in their pools. And if we're...
Can we just ban it? Can we just ban it?
Yeah,
Can we, like, gentleman's out of Yumi?
I am expecting
like
it to have priority, right? It's either going to be picked or it's going to be banned, is my expectation. Especially if we have the possible poke angle and Yumi's Q hurts quite a bit after the hotfix.
Mm-hmm. Hurts quite a lot. That is a prowling projectile for sure. Absolutely mauling people with that Q, and it's awesome. You know, Yumi is so cool. I hope Yumi wins XD, but maybe Yumi will get handshaked out. So before we throw it, actually, we've still got a bit of time, I would imagine, because we're waiting for players to get in the lobby and get the lobby set up, and somebody's gonna mess up draft at some point. But we're gonna get into predictions, and you may notice that we are of one mind tonight, which can only be a good thing, presumably.
Almost of one mind.
Almost of one mind. We are all leaning towards GLV Esports. Some of us more than others. Quinn, break down your reasoning here.
Yeah, so it feels bad to have to judge a team based on 1 week of play and solo queue ranks alone. Ultimately, what I saw, though, was GLV Esports. You know, GLV Esports came out with a win. They have more Masters players. They have more X factors in their picks. They have, like, on paper, with the limited amount of information we can see, some good things going for them. And so I just have to give it to GLV for today. That's my prediction.
Okay, interesting. Kevbo, you vote GLV? Is that for a similar reason?
I think it's for a similar reason. Like Quinn said, it's really hard to judge off of 1 week of play, but at the same time, one team has a win, one team got 2-0'd. So while GLV, their match was very close, like we said, they have presumably a higher skill players. They have 2 master players. So I would expect to see more mechanical prowess out of them. And on top of that, all the counter picks. However, both teams, their drafting is kind of just all over the place with some of the picks that they like to go to.
That's charitable.
So I expect some chaos. I think GLV is going to win, but I think it's going to be a closer series than y'all are giving them credit for.
I would, don't get me wrong, I would absolutely love to see Chaotic Energy like punish the audacity to take like an R2 blind thresh like GLV did last week. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see if it's close.
Yeah,
I hope
we'll
it is.
have to. Yeah, we'll have to see how these teams perform for sure, because you don't want to see, like, especially on the broadcast streams, you don't want to see just like a 2-0 clean sweep. You know, that's kind of what we got last week. Sorry, sorry to whoever lost to CB Midnight last week. Wow, this is just really, really embarrassing.
That was
I
Divine
do not
Ascension.
even remember. Divine Ascension Frostbite. They lost last week in a very convincing fashion. So you do not like to see that. For the time being, we're currently waiting for Chaotic Energy to show up. So this is great news. This is awesome news. Chaotic Energy, they're bringing the chaos. They're throwing the stream into disarray. But yeah, I think that is a very reasonable breakdown of what we could expect tonight. I personally would like to see a 3-game series, just because if these teams are going to pull out wacky picks, I want to see as many of them as possible. But, you know, I can't always be getting everything I want. That would be too good, you know? We got to have one game with like 4 enchanters and Olaf. It's got to happen. You know, one of these days.
I am so ready for the cringe picks. I love the cringe picks. I love cringe games. But we can absolutely hope for like what we're seeing in these players' solo queue histories, right? I see a Bard in here for Chaotic Energy. I see, of course, the Rengar for GLV Emerald. There's a Pantheon. There's a Fiddlesticks here. Fiddlesticks very underappreciated.
Oh, I love Fiddle. Oh, yeah. I love Fiddlesticks. I've always been a Fiddle enjoyer. I know that champion.
There is a lot of Pantheon from GLV right now in solo queue histories.
Yeah, and a ton for sure. But I think also we could maybe talk about some picks that might be a little more contested, picks that I saw from both sides of the rift here. Top lane, there's continues to be, I think, at every level of play, some pretty high priority on Aatrox. I saw both of that in these top laners champ pools. I wouldn't be surprised to see that one come out at all. Like I said, one player has Yone in their name, and the other one's most played is Yone. So I wouldn't at all be surprised to see some priority on Yone as well. But they also, interestingly enough, are a shared pool from what I saw on Kiana, which is not something that we really see a whole lot.
Ooh, I love Kiana as well. She's a very exciting champ. The supreme display of talent is just still one of the most unbelievable abilities I've ever seen in my entire life. It is so funny. And its name is Maximum Comedy. Because, you know, if it works, it's like, oh yeah, that was a supreme display of talent. And if it whiffs, oh yes, a very supreme display of talent. Definitely one of my favorite games to watch. Even if you do not to play Kiana or any other assassin for that matter. So yeah, no, I would love to see some spicy solo queue picks. I doubt it will happen. This is not the VAS. We don't get weird stuff that often. But, you know.
Yeah, I can hope that VTS teams will have a deep enough understanding of their favorite champions that they know how to draft around them and incorporate them properly. We'll see. We'll see if it just becomes completely standard like Zeri Yumi.
Zeri, Resident Sleeper, Yuumi, Resident Sleeper.
Oh, come on, show me some assassin versus assassin mid jungle 2v2 action.
Oh,
show me some combat.
That's a lot. That's a lot to ask for. And considering Glaive's mid laner has in their first series pretty much only played those control mages, so
Yeah, but I would classify a blind Vex as something pretty spicy.
Okay, that is fair. Vex is at least more exciting than like Orianna or Ahri, so that's something. That's something for sure. I believe the players are getting into draft soon enough, so if the casters are ready, we can go ahead and just throw it over to them. If we are good to go. Yeah, all right, we're going to go ahead and throw it over to the casters. If neither of you have anything else you want to say about this matchup, excellent. We're going to go ahead and give it over to Moose and TDS for game 1 of the series between Glaive, Emerald, and Chaotic Energy. Take it away, lads.
I'm excited will actually load because there's some issues with it, but hey, you cannot get everything in live, and I'm just interested in seeing if it ends up working out. But I'm excited for tonight. Another week of BTS, another set of games, and particularly the fact that I wasn't here on Wednesday means that I'm more ready today. I am sadly messed out on the podcast, so I'm ready for tonight.
I feel that same sentiment. We would love to have seen you there, but understandably so, life sometimes gets in the way. But of course, glad to see you here now and glad to get started. Chaotic Energy is going to be over on the blue side here for game 1. Glaive Emerald over on the red. Talking about some of the big bans we could potentially be seeing. Darius is always going to be on the table, going to get banned out immediately from Glaive Emerald. Yone potentially going to come through, and of course, got to think about that Yuumi and some of the other bottom lane juggernauts as Renata Zeri get taken away.
They are really attacking that bot lane, like you were pointing out. Interested in seeing what else will be the focus, maybe the Sivir taking away, but Sivir on blue side, typically it's going to be the first pick, so maybe not the focus. Seraphine as one of those options that the Chaotic Energy try and play up with the Darius and the Hecarim being banned away. Could be seeing a lot of focus towards that top side. I think something like a Viego Wukong could be focused as well for the side of the Emerald. Then the Rengar that we were about, the fact that it was so big, or at least it felt like a pocket pick that could be utilized, ended up being the first pick here, the Yuumi, and here it is. Our analyst desk was asking for assassins. Here is an assassin. So
you get what you want, and you come here to play. Akali is now on the table and is one of those champions that has been making a little bit of a resurgence here at the end of the season. Can still be flexible. If you want to play a little bit spicy, a little old school, you can go for that Turbo Chem take top lane Akali, but most likely going to be going up to the mid lane here. Glaive Emerald, however, recognizing one of the best bottom lane champions available, the Sivir is going to now be online for that R1 pick. So many supports that are still available that can complement Sivir's style. The Lulu, the Nautilus, even something like the Nami can work. But instead of going for that, they decide to secure their mid lane. It's going to be the Vex.
It's not necessarily a blind Vex, but the Akali can be flexed around. And this is why it is like the Vex coming in here. You can pick the Lulu at this point because even though Yuumi's banned on Twitch has been a pretty interesting pick coming looking forward to a lot of this series, and then the Yuumi is one of the best pairings when you don't get the Yuumi on your side with a Twitch. So giving it up like that, I feel like it's a big mistake fight the side of Glaive Emerald. Yes, they can get something like a Blitzcrank or an Nautilus that at least threatens this sort of a squishy champions. I think it can work out. I just dislike the fact that they gave over such a strong pairing so easily. Because if the Blitzcrank fails with the hook, or is not able to really threaten this sort of bottling champions, then against a Twitch that will be buffed up to who knows how much strength, and he will be able to destroy a complete set of champions.
Huge play for Glaive. I know who Kevbo wants to win, and of course it's going to be that Blitzcrank coming through. Like you talked about, though, it is you're very much rolling the dice on that rocket grab, and it's gonna have to be Cathaldis being able to find it and to be able to initiate. If you can't do it, then you're basically, you know, just a meat shield for your backline and not really doing much more to bring it to the table. Chaotic Energy's lineup, well, you do have the wild growth from Eric on the Lulu. You don't necessarily have a lot of health so far, and you're also missing out on a little bit of good lockdown for that Twitch to be able to then get those really nice spray and praise. So looking like they are going to be banning out some initiation from Glaive. The Diana, the J4, not going to be allowed, but there are still a couple of good initiating junglers and top laners that are still on the table.
I feel Ornn is going to be one of those priorities, right? Like, look into what can be picked. Ornn feels pretty good, Sidon feels pretty good. To a lesser degree, because of a point and click CC, I can see Renekton being one of those options, but I honestly wouldn't like to see it on either side. Glaive Emerald here, I think, should be looking for their potential top laner or jungler, actually, to their potential jungler, and give counterpick to their top laner, especially with having a Sivir already. You can kind of play it off as a weak side bot lane and then move with the Blitzcrank. And with the Wukong here, they are playing with their flex potential, but at the same time, they are giving the chance to have that counter pick on the top lane. The buy here, point and click CC, point and click initiation against the Sivir, try and get things started, makes sense. But at the same time, he's a champion that can get bursted out, especially if she doesn't opt into a lot of tanking. Can be risky. And then the Aatrox, so it is a Kali
mid lane. Aatrox going to be in the top lane, and as we look at the full composition for Chaotic Energy, I wouldn't say that it's necessarily chaotic, but it is a very risky comp. You need to be able to execute on your ultimates, and you need to be able to make sure that your side lanes can indeed feast. Glaive Emerald going to respond to the Aatrox with the Fiora, so it's a feast or famine top lane game for both of these teams. And if you take a look at all of the bans that were taken away, the Rengar, the Darius, the Hecarim, the Trundle, the J4, so much pressure putting into the top lane, really denying a lot of the tanks that you could potentially see. Now you're looking at two champions who desperately need to get ahead in the early game.
And that's something that can be worrisome quite a bit. We think about trying to play into mid game, and then particularly into it that has a lot of key options, silence, pick potential, but also some engaged potential with the Vex jumping in or utilizing the on the hunt to try and make things happen. That is kind of worrisome, or at least risky to play against. Like you're pointing out, if one thing goes wrong, this composition may just completely go haywire because their only out is the Twitch Lulu in the late game. The Kali is a great assassin and all that, but like if you're banking on the Twitch late game and then a Kali on the off chance deleting the life of the Civ, like it's way too hard of a game plan to execute. And one mistake can really completely
there are a lot of soft counters that Glaive Emerald has drafted in their comp. That is Dragon Yone going to be playing as the Akali. The personal space from the Vex going to have an option to be able to stop that dash, and with the extra dashes that both the Vi and the Akali have, even the Aatrox, she's going to be able to get extra procs of her passive as well. So Panda, opportunity to be able to have a really strong damage dealing game. King Coney going up against the Twitch Lulu. Yep. I think he's going to have the opportunity to be able to go into that 2v1 relatively nicely. So I'm really looking to see if Cathaldis on this Blitzcrank is going to maybe potentially roam into the mid lane or go up to the top side of the Rift to focus in on getting that Rift Herald, because very importantly for both these teams to be able to get that early influx of gold. If you can get your Eclipse unlocked, or you can get your Boar Drinker, whatever mythic item you want to get in the top lane, you can really start to take control of the side lanes, and at that point, the other team is going to have to respond with 2, maybe even 3 champions to stop your split push.
It really seems to be the case, and I like that you bring up watching what Cathalus does in the game, because like you're pointing out, I really don't think that he should score gank coming in for from Ruov, or forcing a play to happen so that you can get a hooker or something like that. But after that, leave the Sivir alone. That champion doesn't need anyone babysitting her. You need to allow her for her to farm. That's her whole purpose. Essentially, farm towards the late game. Go with the Blitzcrank to the mid lane, to the top lane, those lanes that need to get ahead to try and snowball something, particularly in the side of chaotic energy. And if you're able to counter attack what chaotic energy wants to do with more numbers with this Blitzcrank around, that can just set Glaive Emerald into such a good spot that can just allow for them to run the later stages of the game as well. So I feel like that's what Catalyst
All right, my bold prediction here going into game number 1 is that we are not going to see a Dragon Soul. We will not be seeing a Dragon Soul here in this game. The game will be decided on the top side of the Rift. I could be wrong. But my idea is that we're going to be really fighting for these Rift Heralds and these Barons. With that being said, though, TDS, your prediction for the Dragon Soul and Rift here for this first game? Mountain.
I think it's going to be Mountain. So I have a bit of an inkling
I think
for
Mountain's pretty cool, but I think you're wrong. I think it's gonna be an Ocean, Soul, and Rift here in game 2 or in game 1, giving us the opportunity to be able to get those extra little health bars, little extra protection with those brush plays, maybe, or maybe not protection, but ambushing potential, pick potential, all of that fun stuff could be a really fun thing to watch. But regardless of what Dragon Soul and Rift it is, chat, we want to know what you guys think of both these drafts, who you guys think is going to win game 1. As always, check out the VTS and the Victoris Discord to stay up to date on all of the content that Victoris is putting out, not only through League of Legends, but also Valorant. There are Valorant tournaments and League of Legends tournaments going on every single day of the week. So if you guys are not in the Discord already, please do not hesitate to join and get yourself in on the action. With that being said, though, we're going to take a quick break, and when we return, will Chaotic Energy be able to have that top lane dominance, or is it just a Blitzcrank diff and we should all listen to Kevbo more? We'll find out soon. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift. seconds.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Victoris Triumph series. We got Moose and TBS here at the desk, and of course behind the scenes. If we can get some thank you Dans in the chat, coming all the way from sunny United Kingdom to support us here on the Victoris channel. Thanks so much, Dan, for taking time out of your day to produce for us. But hey, we are now in it. Week number 2 of the Victoris Triumph series is now underway. Chaotic Energy starting off with a little bit of some top support, but other than that, I mean, any final thoughts, any expectations that you think we need to be looking at as we get into this game, TDS?
How about first blood coming in from top side? Because we have double ignite top laners. If one of them doesn't die before 4 minutes, I'll be disappointed.
You're gonna be very disappointed. I think you're absolutely right there, and with both junglers, both Roofy, or not Roofy, both Ruoff and CHK deciding to go with that bottom side start, it is going to be an interesting top lane play and an interesting swap. I'm here to dunk has decided to go into the mid lane to go up against Panda and that Vex, and then King Coney with that Fiora going up against the Akali. Does that really matter to the Fiora at this point, though?
I'm actually sure why the change happens. I think that it has to be because at least, with the Fiora, you have much better chances of winning the matchup. Not necessarily because the Fiora is worse against Akali or that, although Akali does against Fiora, but it's the range difference. It's the fact that the Vex just have the range advantage as well as the fear. So every CS that you may try to attempt to go for as the Akali may just get countered.
Got our first rocket grab of the game on the Kancho, and he's gonna go down. Flash used, but the ignite will be enough, along with an extra little boomerang plague, wistfully to take first blood.
I feel like for this game particularly, we should get a Kev cam so that whenever anything happens with Blitzcrank, we can see what Kevpo was doing at the moment. If he dies, we see his reaction. If he gets a hook and gets a team win, we see his reaction. I feel like that's the only way to feel satisfied with this Blitzcrank. Although pretty good hook.
Things off and already getting that extra 400 gold for wistfully on that Sivir, starting to snowball soon. Echo gonna be down to about half HP. Playing as the Vi, and is forced outside of their jungle. Panda and Ruoff are making sure that Echo cannot get to that blue buff, cannot get to those wolves, and already making it difficult for them to begin jungling. Now, will they be able to get out of this play? Looks like they will get the wolves as a little compensation. Aggressive early game from GLV.
Wolves, and I want to focus a little bit on the Vi because it doesn't have blue buff. That means that her entire topside, or at least the blue buff and the wolves, weren't done. The Wukong will steal this, will get the Scuttle at such a good lead for the side of Glacial, or Flave. I'm sorry, I see the G, I immediately jump into Glacial, but it's Flave. And that is such a good lead for their jungler. Ruoff can really get the game going. We had, we have a quick replay for the play that happened bot side. We're watching what happened top side, but it was as soon as in the bot lane they hit the double two. So this fight's going to be a bit longer than that. But the hook was pretty easy to set up. If you see as soon as we come in, it's level 2. The positioning from the two members of CE is really questionable because the Twitch is so far up when you know that the hook is in place, and crucially as well, he's standing in a place where there's not a lot of chances for him to move up or down, so he kind of just allows for the Blitzcrank to get a perfect line to get the hook.
Already seen a little bit of a roam from Cathaldus on this Blitzcrank up to the top side. Well, he wasn't necessarily needed in terms of being able to get those wolves, to be able to get that blue buff. He was there and has already begun moving around. Panda, however, going to be ignited and will flash. I'm here to dunk with the first kill of the game for Chaotic Energy.
We have question Panda in this play. No mana, you're already getting pushed. You know that he has Ignite, you have a teleport, so you can actually just leave this wave back and try and push it after coming back. There's no chance that you can allow yourself to be in that position. End up trading flashes, but it's way too late at that point, and it's a pretty easy kill for the Aatrox in the top.
Yone, however, potentially in trouble. Parry will be used. Shadows, but the minions, along with the Ignite,
Ignite is enough
to give King Coney their first kill of the game. And that's a big kill for GLV, because Coney now going to be at a very similar position to I'm here to dunk as that Aatrox.
And both mid laners making a pretty interesting mistake, both on their part, giving kills to the Ignite top laners. But importantly, thanks to the fact that a play happened on the top side, and in the same time a play was happening on the bot side with this dragon, the advantage is for GLV. They have the advantage in kills, they have the advantage in moving around the map, and now they can set up for much more so whatever they want to do. This wave, I think it's pushing towards the backs. It is pushing slowly towards the back, so could be the setup for the Wukong to gank in, but it's not going to turn like that.
You know, definitely like looking at this exchange even more, considering that I'm Here to Dunk does have this potential to be this carry factor here for Chaotic Energy. I do appreciate the thought going into the mid lane, and it's paying off in dividends for them as well. Being able to get that first kill against Panda, that's also going to take the teleport away, and is going to give an opportunity to just continue to get money and continue to scale up. That serrated dirt getting given over to Dunk in that last back. He doesn't have teleport, but he does have the opportunity to get that Ignite up very, very soon. So definitely gonna keep an eye on that, as the Rift Herald, that major objective that I was talking about in draft, is spawning in less than a minute.
And the fact that the Ignite is coming back so soon and then no flash from the Vex to try and run away can really be important, looking into any sort of aggressiveness that the Aatrox can look forward to. The Rift Herald going to be an important objective, especially without the Dragon in the next 3 minutes, or 4 minutes actually, so it's going to be positive. And look at that, the Vex already below half health. I don't think there's anything that the Wukong can do alone here. I think that can...
Panda though does have an opportunity to come in with the ult. Does he decide to initiate onto it? The Boldus is there, and there it is! The Shadows
oh, there it is!
And Panda gonna get some revenge.
Pretty crucial play that they pulled out there. I was worried that there was going to be a small chance that the Wukong was going to get out traded and then out healed, because Cathalus wasn't actually super strong. He would have to commit a flash to really get the play going. So the fact that they are able to get the kill, and not only get the kill but give it over to the Vex, who was losing really heavily those trades against the Aatrox, is a pretty positive thing. The Monkey King as well, Wukong, is going to get that level 6, so the next attempts in ganks are going to be much more aggressive and much more dangerous. Looking forward to what this Wukong can accomplish. And then we see King Konki doing a pretty good just freeze, trying to get ahead of this Akali, and in a pretty nice spot, 62 minions. Ahead of 62 minions and ahead of the Akali by a bit.
Forward that is placed into that top side jungle of Glaive's like red buff area might have just netted Chaotic Energy. That Rift Herald, recognizing that that wasn't an immediate back from Ruoff, is going to give that Rift Herald over to Chaotic Energy, and that extra gold that it provides. Gonna guarantee that extra 300 for the turret plates, and maybe a little bit more if they can make a play happen from it. Panda, however, going to be a bait for both teams. It is now a 3v3. The assault battery over on Panda so far. We're gonna be able to get the fear on the Echo, and Echo's gonna go down. I can't believe that rocket grab did not land on the dunk. Cathaldus is gonna try to move into the fray without Whistling now in the mid lane as well. And with Echo dead, there's no way for them to drop the Rift Herald. There's no jungler to potentially get that knockup in, and that's gonna be a turret plate as well for Glaive.
Really good answer by Glaive. Like you were pointing out, everyone was in the vicinity, so it made the play easier. And because the wave wasn't getting pushed until now by the Twitch, that means that there was a pretty open opportunity for the Sliver to move around and accomplish a lot. I feel like if the On the Hunt came a little bit later, a little bit earlier, I correct myself, that could have been a much more beneficial play for Glaive, because they could accomplish much. But at the end, they get a kill for absolutely a couple of ultimates, so it's a pretty good trade at the end.
Oh, Tony and Dragon Yone gonna go up against each other. But that's another move up that is taken, and another Shadows coming through from
great
Panda.
ulti.
That Shadow Surge locking on to Dragon Yone and giving Panda their second kill.
pretty good Shadow Surge coming in, killing Dragon Yone. It doesn't go to the Kali, but you love to see these kills going into the Soul Image.
You're going to be able to get the boomerang
there?
shot, and we'll take Eric Northman down. Kangshu's now going to be the next target, as Whistley will be able to get away from the Contaminate range. Echo, however, doesn't have Assault and Batteries, so they're going to be able to get away with murder. Splash and Exhaust used, but a kill. Another kill for Glaive.
Kill for nothing in reality. Yes, you blew the summoners off of the Silver, but you also blew the summoner of the Twitch and Flash as well on the Lulu. So it's a pretty equal trade when you think like that. And then with the kill that happened just a couple of seconds ago in the top set, it's just of advantages that Blade is getting away with, and no real response by Chaotic Energy. Pretty good decision making that Blade is showcased. It's a pretty big heavy trade onto the Fury, so it has to be careful. But all in all, they are setting the pace of the game really accordingly to what they want to accomplish, and it's working out so far.
Performance there, I think, from Wistfully and Gonzalez in the bottom lane. It's definitely been a lot more macro play and map control that Glaive Esports has been able to benefit off of, really making these fights not just 3v3s, but 4v3s and 5v3s by being at the right place at the right time. I mean, Kangshu, as this Twitch, has not really put in any effort in terms, or not put any, I shouldn't say effort, but hasn't really been like effective yet. 77 CS compared to 98 for Wistfully, like, even because Wistfully is going into the mid lane and going in for these plays, still is putting in a lot more work in CS and in kills against this Twitch.
It's really lucky, and a lot of that has to do with that first blood, but also with the rest of the map kind of losing, because the bike has no presence, because your bot lane has no presence, because your lanes are pretty equal, your soul lanes are equal to having not a lot of presence. It's that you cannot move freely, and if you move a little bit too far forward as a Twitch, you end up paying the price. Especially also against a champion like the Sivir that can just free push you consistently. I feel like it's really hard
on the hunt is going to get used, and the Rift Herald will get dropped into the bottom lane. Not just going to land on Northman, as they do have another 3v3 assault battery to be used from Whistley. Whistley's going to go down, and Kangshu's going to be able to get a shutdown. Massive play coming through here from the side of Chaotic Energy, as it is going to be traded out for one kill. Northman will fall, and World is not potentially be in trouble, trying to be able to get away. A nice Everfrost from Panda, but Panda now potentially be in trouble as well. Shutdown going over to I'm Here to Dunk, and that is going to be 2 kills, a shutdown, and the Rift Herald dropping into the bottom lane.
That has to be one of the biggest mistakes I've seen from Ruofo this game so far. He threw everything away just to try and kill this Lulu. At the start, this is fine. Okay, you're forcing a lot onto the Lulu. Perfect. She used everything. Now go for your Sivir. The Twitch is free firing. There's nothing that is stopping this Twitch from killing your backline, and you commit everything to kill a Lulu that already used everything. She's useless. At this, there's nothing worth going for her. And because they also try to save Ruofo in this play, Panda ends up dying, paying for the sins of your jungler, is what I call this. Sadly for Panda, ends up getting traded. But for Chaotic Emerald, this was a forced Chaotic Energy. Sorry, this was a forced play to answer 2. It turns really good for them, because it's not only the kills, it's not only the shotgun, it's also the plays that they are getting. And that is a pretty big issue, because they were so far behind in terms of the overall context of the game that this can at least try and accomplish some turnaround.
I mean, I just have to wonder, you know, Panda was there just a couple of seconds earlier, being able to land a Shadow Surge. It might have been a different game. It might have been a different fight. But Glaive knew that they were coming into that 3v3, and now might have been able to make a play out of it. So nice rocket grab coming through, and Panda to get back on the board as Kangshu will fall. And here Jump is going to get caught out in the mid lane. King Pony will pick up their second kill and will now be on 150 gold bounty.
And 2 pretty good punishes coming in from Glaive. One in the bot lane, you asked Panda to come a little bit earlier so that he could go for the play. Doesn't use the Shadow Surge, but it still gets a pretty nice spear into the hook. And then with he set their sights onto the mid lane as well, with the Pure and Wukong, they are able to get a kill onto one of the most dangerous members right now.
Oh wow, great combo from Panda to use Shadow Surge as well. Another Shadow Surge is going to land into the assault battery.
I think they have enough damage.
Take a couple hits, and it's Ruloff that will take the first shot. It's going to be a double kill for Panda, and Ruloff going down. Now 11-3 as that Shadow Surge misses. That should end the play, but a huge rebound here for Glaive.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty sure you don't want to follow up even further than that. You already got what you asked for. You got even more than what you asked for. You got the turret.
Oh, in trouble. Gonna be a flash into that knockup. Not gonna be enough for him to die, however, as King Coney will get shut down in the live feed. Man, just a very bloody game. They asked for a bloody game at the analyst desk, and they sure got it.
True. Yep, they're getting what they wanted. We talked about this. If you ask, you're going to get it. That's exactly the Blitzcrank League. And then with this bloody game, it's really turning like that. You have to question how King Coney ended up in that situation where you end up trading and could have been survived. I think that instead of opting to try and trade, if you just run away, you survive. End up taking the bad side of the trade and dies. But even with that, everything else is going so smooth, or maybe not smooth, but going so well for them, that it doesn't really matter that the Purite dies, because everyone else has a lot of gold.
Has indeed begun. It's a 5,000 gold advantage for Glaive, with the lion's share of that advantage going over to Panda. About 1,600 gold advantage for him against Dragon Yone as the Akali, and still about a 1,500 gold advantage against I'm Here to Dunk, who played into the laning phase against them. So pretty nicely done there. And then wistfully, 2-1 and 444 CS, a 30 CS advantage against Kanchu here. Going to be about 3 or 2,000 gold ahead. As we do see a Rift Herald play started, but it's going to be Chaotic Energy backing off.
And as I was going to say, just go for the hook. A blind hook sometimes works out. But yeah, they are leaving the Herald. They are not trying to contest it. And it makes sense that they don't have the manpower or the gold power. So,
okay, Shadow Surge is going to get used as Dragon Yone going to get hit by the Fear as well. We put inside their own Shroud to be able to escape, and will be able to do so just fine. You know what, TDS? I am wrong. You know, I thought this game was going to be decided on the top side of the Rift with these two Rift Heralds. Completely incorrect. Because of how well the bottom lane has played out for Glaive, they're going to be able to get their third Dragon. Dragon's Soul is now on the line in 5 minutes, as the Rift Heralds will get responded to by Chaotic Energy. Panda going to be in trouble here, going to be hit by a lot of damage from Echo, and from Here to Dunk, a shutdown, and that's 600 gold going over to I'm Here to Dunk, as the mid lane tier 1 tower gets taken.
Was he looking for some sort of lost treasure or what? That was completely walking blindly into death. That is completely amazing.
What?
But at least with Panda's death though, let's just not talk about that. With Panda's death, they get the stack tier turret. Nobody else dies. Wukong just disappeared, but he didn't die.
Giving an extra little bit of gold over to Dragon Yone for who knows what reason. I guess maybe make those objective bounties a little bit weaker. It's another 350 gold going into I'm Here to Dunk's pockets. The big development there is the fact that this will most likely result in the second item for Dunk getting unlocked right before we hit that 20-minute mark. Dragon Yone is going to get hit by that Shadow Surge. Will he die? Question is no. Once again, he'll be able to escape. It's still going to be a fight, still going through. He's going to avoid a little bit more of that damage. Panda's going to go a little too far forward. First execution will come through on the Wild Growth. Dragon Yone on a killing.
Panda got baited. Panda needs to understand his limits. He's getting baited to plays that you have to question really heavily. Those are kills that should never be given like that. It's a pretty good job by Chaotic Energy to get back and punish the mistakes that GLV are committing, but you also have to protect GLV because those are mistakes that are not forced, are just simply...
Yeah, we got another fight though. Rob is going to go up against Dragon Yone, going to try to get the knockup, but a great polywar from Eric Northman. Going to make sure that the Wukong just immediately dies. Currently a 1-for-1 in the play though, as Echo will go down. Wistfully will usually on the hunt to get away, and will be able to get out of this one, but it's both junglers down.
I think is that in reality it's a 2-for-1 and both summoners of the Sivir. That is so much commitment for just a kill onto the buy. That is already 0-2 before that death. Now 0-3. It's not like you're getting a lot of gold, and I think GLV playing really like making mistakes that really shouldn't be happening because they had complete control over the map. They had the say in almost any play. The problem is that they are going for things that simply are mis-executed, and they pay the price. Look at this, Wukong just gets polymorph, thinking that he can go for a form and ultimate, gets absolutely nothing, dies immediately, and luckily the Sliver doesn't die as well, because that would have been a huge disaster for
it's definitely
GLV.
something that I want to ask the analyst desk here in terms of, you know, targeting and in terms of like what Wukong does in a team fight, right, or in a skirmish, right? Because the way that I play Wukong at my, you know, low level is I'm really utilizing my Wukong as, you know, a peeling tool. I want to be able to use that Cyclone to be able to make sure that my ADC, that my mid laner are able to stay safe. It feels like Ruoff is really focusing on making sure that Wukong is utilized in more of a aggressive form, trying to be able to get the knockup onto Dragon Yone, trying to get the knockup onto Eric Northman, really putting in that tunnel vision here. As we move into the next couple of minutes, potentially Dragon Soul on the line in a minute 25. What is GLV's next logical move here?
So I feel like the number one priority should be getting that soul, but at the same time, with how the game is going, I feel like if they get soul, that could put them in a spot where they could give up there, and that is game losing if they give up Elder. So I feel like they actually try and threaten Baron, and if not, utilize the pressure that the Fiora provides in the side lane and just handshake the dragons. But if you want a dragon, okay, take it. We will try and prioritize the side lane so that our Fiora will be strong enough to not only fight herself, but win every sort of fight. They're going for the Baron here, very efficient. They don't know
the very risky macro play here coming in from GLV.
No.
Yeah, there's
no
support from either the Fiora or the Vex. The Vex is now currently on the way, about 2,100 health on Baron. Baron gets just
what is she going to do?
Huge play there for GLV, and now what are they going to do with it? 20 seconds until the Cloud Drake spawns. We're going to see multiple backs, a full reset. They're going to try to contest with this dragon.
And they can. It's a quick back, and like we were pointing out, play with this Fiora on the side lane, because now with Baron buff, you can trade the Baron, like the dragon. Actually, just if you want to give it up, give it up. It matters absolutely nothing. For GLV, they have the Baron buff, they have the Fiora, they can put pressure in the side lane, and if the Akali wants to try and respond in any other way, they're not fighting, we get turret.
They're going to try to go for it. The battery does come through the teleport. It's going to come in from the Akali as well. This is going to be so down. And it's going to be a massive play here for Chaotic Energy as Ruoff going to be able to make it a 2-4 so far. They're going to be able to get another that shadow sword, but Canon's going to come through, and the teleport from Dragon Yone is going to be just enough for Chaotic Energy to stay alive and pick up this Cloud Drake at what cost? Top lane of their top lane, I guess. Chaotic Energy might lose it.
I dislike so much the fact that the Sivir dies, but it really doesn't matter, because like we were pointing out, 2 turrets for the price of 2 kills. Oh no, Fiora, please don't die. Okay, 2 turrets the price of a dragon that you really don't care about, because that would put you in a worse spot, and for the price of the Sivir. The Sivir death, I think, is the biggest thing. The Wukong dying doesn't matter, but the Sivir dying here, I think it's the biggest thing. But even then, you get much more value if you're on the side of GLV, because the map is even more open than it was previously, and also, Sivir got gold, but even though she died, so she's now closer to that IE spike that just makes the Sivir become an even harder champion to deal with. You still have Baron in some of the members, and in the most important one as well, that is the Fiora.
The bottom side of the Rift. Now a worthy opponent has been revealed. I'm here to dunk without that teleport is now going to be able to go up against that Fiora in the side lanes. Looking at both of them, objectively speaking, it's very similar, I would say, in gold. I'm here to dunk with that Eclipse, with that Black Cleaver. You got the Rapid Sword Drinker unlocked for King Coney. As we do get a pause. Looks like it was just a immediate pause. Yay. Coming through. But a very interesting game, I would say, so far. It definitely felt like GLV was going to be the team that was going to run away with it, but instead, Chaotic Energy has capitalized on some of Glaive's weird mid-game plays, and now they're not necessarily back in the game, but they have at least a chance.
They have the tools. Oh, the hook misses just by a skin of the teeth, by a little bit, really close.
Definitely, like, had it been just a little bit closer, that might have actually been an inhibitor tower going down, but we'll see what they're going to be able to do here with 15 seconds remaining as the pause debuff has now been completed. Baron up minions now here in the bottom side of the Rift. All 5 members of Glaive, all 5 members of Chaotic Energy potentially going in for a team fight that could decide the game. A lot of damage onto the inhibitor tower, but not quite enough to be able to finish the job. The assault battery is going to be used from Panda going too far forward. A lot of damage from on here. He's not going to be able to go into a rampage. It's going to be 1 for 1, however, so far. Ruff's going to be able to get away. Kiradun's still at full HP. The boomerang's going to drop. Kiradun gets now down to half HP as King Tony trying to be able to dash forward. We've got Dragon Yone down. We've got Panda down. Both mid laners are dead, and the inhibitor tower will fall. Inhibitor is now going to potentially be next to Ruoff. Very low. You're trying to be able to get away. Huge parry from Tony. Is going to be able to take down Echo.
Ooh, the parry. It's perfect. That's it.
The inhibitor will fall. The rocket grab from the Golden is massive. As
I cannot.
Fall, King Tony will pick up that kill, and it's 3 for 1, and an inhibitor goes down in the bottom lane.
And potentially another one is now on the Aatrox and on the Lulu. Akali soon enough that it's going to spawn, but I'm not sure if that's going to be enough to defend this. There is no Baron buff anymore, so maybe it is. But important fight, they don't force overcommit for the inhibitor. I think a smart decision. Pretty good fight coming in now from GLV. They are able to take it out. And even though it starts with GLV positioning a little bit too far forward, at this point, the Vex is already dead as the Akali, but they committed everything to kill the Vex. The problem is that when they committed so much, and then you kill the Vex, but the main carries, the Fiora and the Sivir are still alive, Wave overcommitted once again, and you just out-damage them. They did not respond accordingly. They carry time, but even then, the hook as well. Oh, and that's typical already.
Panda is going to fall now 5, 6, and 2. Definitely, like, my hot take there in that last fight is, had Glaive not been in a 6,000 gold advantage, had Infinity Edge not been unlocked more wistfully, that fight might have turned so sour for Glaive, and Chaotic Energy might...
I actually think that Sivir didn't have IE that fight, if I'm not wrong.
King Tony's gonna catch out, Khonshu, just... Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
That came out of nowhere.
You're right, you're absolutely right. Did not have Infinity Edge, but regardless of that, still going to be a difficult play there for Chaotic Energy. King Tony! That's a nice flash. I'm here to dunk the able to pick up that kill. Meanwhile, the kills just continue to keep on coming as wistfully to be able to get down the Guardian Angel before Echo could get the Assault Battery. To pick up the Vi. So that's 2 members down for Chaotic Energy.
2 down, but 2 on the side of GLV. Oh,
yeah.
He's Akali.
My word,
that's not
what
good.
is this game? Everyone being so aggressive. Gonna end up costing.
Everyone wants a piece. Everyone wants a piece of the other team's champions.
I don't disagree with you there, because it definitely feels like everyone just wants to be in the mosh pit that both these teams have just created. Take a look at some of these replays here.
Oh, we got it. Okay, so this is after the Fiora pump onto the Twitch. Importantly, 2 things. I think there's no, like it's coming up, there's no flash on the Fiora, and then no ulti as well. So taking this fight against the Aatrox, even though it's an interesting attempt, there's Ignite, no ulti, and then there's quite a bit of just coming from the Aatrox. If the Fiora had more damage, or at least the ultimate, I think that they take this fight. But it's just so hard for the Fiora because she didn't have anything and Aatrox had everything. Then you can just see it with your eyes. Sivir did so much damage. She's
going for another fight here.
King
Tony does get knocked up. Baron is now unlocked for Glaive. Potential Cloud Soul available as well if they are able to get it. But this is not the most consequential soul if you don't get it for Glaive. Chaotic Energy gonna have to play their cards right, and it does look like the opportunity is potentially for them to go for a Nexus turret. Panda not going to stop any of the backs. And it does look like it might have just been a bamboozle from Glaive. They're going to take Cloud Soul basically for free.
And not going to be contested. I think for Chaotic it's not really the worst of things giving up this dragon. Protecting their base is going to be much more important. But if Glaive plays this off really nicely, because they don't need to start a dragon either. They just need the super minions like we saw to go into the base. You make a threat and you make the side of Chaotic Energy have to buy it. And they buy it. They just go back to base and you get a free objective for absolutely nothing. Now Elder will be spawning in 6 minutes, and I think with how the game has been going with the aggressiveness, I think that may be more detrimental for Glaive than they actually think it is. But at the same time, if they are able to pull it out before it happens, or if they have complete control and they are able to get vision and all that, then it shouldn't be.
Yeah, I think right now for Glaive, you got to look at some of the timers that we have just looking at the map. King Coney doesn't have flash, but every other summoner spell for Glaive is up. No teleport for Dragon Yone, no flash for Eric Northman if they have those timers available. No Guardian Angel for Echo, which means that their second item is practically useless for the next 4 minutes. So let's see what Baron up Ming is going to do up on the top side of the Rift. It does look like it will be taken without a fight. Looks like Inhibitor will go down as well, so Super Minions will be spawning in the top lane and in the mid lane as the Inhibitor in the bottom lane spawns. If you're going to stay alive in this game, Chaotic Energy, it is going to be at Nexus. As if first Nexus turret is now down to half HP, down to a third. Well, go from Echo.
I'm not sure about this. Oh no! Look at the ricochet!
It's a ton of damage, a quadra kill for Wistfully, and once again in a game 1 on the BTS, the ADC picks up a quadra kill, and Glaive will win game 1.
And good job by Fiora, by King Connie, because I think the Fiora stole the Penta, so I applaud you, man. I applaud you. But at the same time, that was such a interesting chaotic, just like as the name describes. Chaotic Energy did a lot of things that I'm not sure I am okay with them doing, but they tried to come back into the game. Same for Glaive. I think that they played a lot of those stretches really nicely, but they committed a lot of mistakes that not trying to anything better teams can punish. So certainly they need to be careful about this kind of things. Next game, there's chances for Chaotic Energy that they can take advantage of, and Glaive needs to be much more clinical with how they go into these games, because a lot of these mistakes cannot happen like they didn't happen.
What they needed to do, no matter if it was up against Dragon Yone on the Akali or I'm Here to Dunk and the Aatrox in the early game, King Coney delivered. Ruoff with some really aggressive plays against Echo to make sure that the Vi was never involved in terms of being able to contest anything. So really strong early game presence from Glaive Emerald. I definitely will agree with you in saying that the mid game was very sloppy, and you know, had it been up against a different team, maybe that mid game might have cost Glaive Emerald the victory. But in this one, and in this case, it was a Cloud Soul, it was 2 Barons, that was just enough to give Glaive Emerald this game 1 victory. We're going to take it up to the analyst desk now for them to break down this game. Analyst desk, take it away.
Well, thank you so much, Moose and TDS. What a bizarre game we had on our hands there. We got to see some very interesting picks, a very interesting draft approach from both teams, and most importantly, the one, the only, the golden boy, Blitzcrank, finally showing up and finally delivering, literally vindicating you, Kevbo, from your opinion on the podcast. You said that Blitzcrank is the answer that we have been looking for into Enchanters, and we see it deliver in spades.
Yeah, I mean, all of these Enchanters, like Lulu, Sona, Seraphine, like, all those characters, they're so squishy. You land 1 Rocket Grab before level 6, pretty much any AD carry. If you have Ignite, you're going to pretty much almost one-shot them. As we saw there, you know, even the Twitch walked against the wall, 1 hook lands at level 2, just dead. Did kind of flash a little bit late, so a bit unfortunate there. That is the reason I think they ended up dying. But even if the Twitch didn't end up dying there, the amount of pressure exerted on the lane is simply because you're hiding from that rocket grab in the early levels is enough to at least convert for them onto that first Drake.
Yeah, and we saw in the early skirmishes, Crank just getting an early kill that he had no business getting, and that leads to some of the. I think both teams sort of contributed to the messy nature of this game because GLV had complete control in those early stages and then just started fumbling over and over and over again. But there was some assurance just because of how strong their draft was. And I think, Quinn, you had some notes and some thoughts about how the teams approached the draft this game and how that could have sort of impacted what could have been a closer match if there were some different champions on the board.
Yeah, I'm not exactly thrilled with how Chaotic Energy played out the draft phase. And look, it takes a lot for me to say that Vex is a good pick in a certain spot, but the way Chaotic Energy drafted, Vex became a good pick for GLV Emerald, right? I was not fond of the B1 Akali if they weren't going to flex it. They ended up flexing it ultimately, so it was okay. But then as soon as you have Akali, Twitch, Lulu, you have such a scaling investment on the bot side of your map, or what you're expecting to be the bot side of your map. The Blitzcrank just blows things wide open, and then we lock in the Vi without anything really specific to lock down. So it almost feels like Chaotic Energy ended up panicking. They're like, okay, well, we need something to exert early pressure because, like, I don't think we're outscaling. They have they have Sivir. They still have a pick we can't see. We're gonna pick the Aatrox. Worst case scenario, like Wukong can even be flexed into the Aatrox. That's a losing matchup. GLV Emerald actually end up going with the Fiora, one of the worst matchups for Aatrox. So now they end up with like a Vi that feels a bit out of place. No winning matchups. And to their credit, like honestly, Chaotic Esports solved the problem in a very good way. They ended up matching Akali into Fiora and Aatrox into Vex, solving their worst matchups. Actually creating a matchup, like a match to Fiora side lane pressure with Akali's wave clear. Giving themselves something to play off of for Vi with the mid jungle 2v2. So that they did salvage the situation they were in. I just don't think they set themselves up for success as well as they could have. Even if they did have the intention to flex from the beginning with Akali V1.
Yeah, the intent was there, the theory was there, just not quite there on the execution. So, going into the next game, how do you think Chaotic Energy needs to... Do you think they should stay on the blue side? Or should they look to maybe go onto the red side? I should not have closed out of the notes that I literally took about their previous games, because I wrote down which team was the one that loved red side. I'm pretty sure that was GLV. GLV were the red side enjoyers. Do they force GLV off their comfort zone, even if they aren't necessarily as comfortable with red side? Or do they continue to try and utilize the power of blue side first picks in a way that can keep the game in control?
I mean, I really don't think it did much for them. GLV, from what we've seen in all of their games, is early prioritizing their AD carry and support. Like, they're just picking what they feel like playing and not really necessarily what's meta early. So you're essentially just giving them counterpick, right? While also not really doing anything with the first pick, I think, on blue side. So if I'm them, I'm definitely swapping to red.
Yeah, I didn't find Chaotic Energy's use of B1 very compelling. I would be interested to see what they could do with counterpick instead, force GLV Emerald into that position. Beyond that, though, I think if Chaotic Energy use that red side to just kind of make a team comp that's like slightly more cohesive, GLV Emerald have shown that they can bleed, right? They played it a little messy. They drafted a team comp that is not built for team fighting, right? That is the purest form of pick comp with the Blitzcrank, the side lane Fiora. And despite that, they kept approaching team fights over and over. They kept finding themselves out of position. Like, it was a little sloppy all around. So I would agree. I think Chaotic Energy should go red. If their use of first pick isn't super strong, if they can find a way to just draft a death ball and prey on Glaive Emerald's tendency to team fight with comps that should not be team fighting, then I think that might be their best way to take a game in this series.
Okay, I think that is an interesting idea. All right, but for the side of Glaive, how do they close it out? Do they keep to the same game plan? Just look to utilize some of these power picks that they have? Crank 2? Crank come back? The revenge?
And I certainly think you can pick Crank if you want to, but I don't think, even as the leader in Blitzcrank propaganda, blind Blitzcrank is really bad, especially in competitive, because they will just. You can even pick Morgana, who is an enchanter, and just spell shield every single time that the rocket grab comes out, or you can pick Sivir and do pretty much the same thing. So I expect them to draft a different style of bot lane here, but I think very much in their style of drafting, I think we will see something very similar. We might see more priority on getting a solo lane, especially since they have the first pick. But I still expect them to slam a bot lane in the first 3 picks.
Yeah, and we actually have confirmation now that Chaotic Energy are going to be taking red side in this game. So that's great news, and it's going to be very interesting to see if they can utilize the red side picks and force Glaive off of the comfort zone. See them on blue side for the first time in the split, granted 4 games. So, you know, it's 4 games. So we'll see. We'll see how that changes things, and we'll see what will happen as a result. But I believe any final thoughts from the two of you as the players are almost ready to hop into the draft? And we're just gonna, no breaks. We're going straight back to the.
We're going back. Sorry,
we're
casters.
gonna be going back to the casters. They said it was A-okay, so.
Yeah, final thoughts. If Glaive Emerald are going to pick a composition that is not built around team fighting, I just hope that they keep their win conditions in mind a little more strongly. If they're able to, I would not be surprised to see them, but even before seeing the draft, I would not be surprised to see them take another game. If just Glaive needs to clean it up a little, Chaotic needs to make the most of their red side.
All right. Well then, it looks like they are. I hope you didn't have anything to say, Kevbo. I love you though.
They're already drafting.
All right, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and throw it over to draft. We're gonna let the boys on the caster desk break it down for us. Moose, TDS. Let's see what these teams have for game 2 of the series.
Well, Albie, thank you so much, Becky Rita and the rest of the analyst desk. And we are back here for game number 2. As you can see, we're already knee-deep into the draft with all of the bans coming through, as well as the B1 pick for Glaive Emerald. Just going down the line really quick. Darius, Hecarim, Yumi, Sivir, Renata, Zeri, with a B1 of Felios, TDS.
I don't know how to answer that, if I'm honest. B1, Aphelios, but there's a lot of bot lane bans, but I'm not sure if I would take the Aphelios for big. Immediately entered by the Caitlyn, so they are going to try and play to pressure bot side, which I think to a certain degree is fine. And then if they take Morgana, then that can be a pretty dangerous combo, or Karma as well. I just want to see how the project been rising priority, so maybe that's going to be something that Chaotic Energy brings. With the Wukong pick as well, I like that they are taking away the tools that made it hard to try and force teamfights thanks to the ultimate. And as they asked for Fiddlesticks, here is Fiddlesticks. So we're getting a pretty interesting game over there.
Fiddlesticks, one of my favorite champions, going to be out on the Rift here in game number 2. Definitely feels like a little bit of a limit test game for Glaive Emerald, as you now have 3 late game scaling champions now on their roster, with the Fiddlesticks and the Azir getting locked in B3. The opportunity to be able to get a massive Crow Storm into the Moonlight Vigil is going to have the opportunity to deal tons of damage. However, you have to be punished in the early game for a considerable amount of time before these 3 champions come online.
True, that is one of the biggest worries. There's the Morgana. Like, it's just such a good combo to play with, and against a Fiddlesticks that relies on that fear, having that spell shield to deny, or not spell shield, the black shield to deny that sort of CC and engage potential can be really valuable. Now, Fiddlesticks to try and deny you any chance of reacting to it, but it's going to be fun seeing how it interacts. Yes, here, all in all, a good pick, especially to push away the Wukong. I think that is something to try to consider, especially looking into team fights, and then mainly top lane bans, as well as some mid lane bans with that Yone, but it's all in all a lot of soul lane. The Aatrox, it's the Akali instead. Okay, I think makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, so looking at the composition so far for Chaotic Energy, everything here makes sense. Like you said, the Caitlyn Morgana looks really good. The Wukong is going to provide a little bit of tankiness, a little bit of protection, and a little bit of healing with the knockup from the Cyclone, as well as armor shred as well with those crushing blows. So if you do decide to go with the tank in the top lane and in the support role, which I do believe you have to do if you are Glaive Emerald, you're looking at a composition that does have a lot of protection for Khonshu on this Caitlyn, as well as now for Dragon Yone on this Syndra. I do not expect we'll be seeing Syndra top lane here in game 2.
I don't expect it. Quite risky, but against maybe a lane that will not have younger assistance, so who knows? It's the Aatrox taking away instead, so taking from I'm Here to Dong, but I'm Here to Dong played solo that first game. I think that anything that you give him can really show his prowess. Could even see the Camille being the pick, the Gnar being one of the picks here as well for safety. Then you have Jax as well, potentially could be something that we see coming out. So I'm quite interested in seeing what the answer will be. I feel like the most logical one would be Ornn, even though it's not a straight up counter pick. But for their composition and as a champion, it just works out well. It's going to be the Gnar instead.
Gnar is fine. I think Gnar is okay. You're able to get that Mega Gnar form, and if you are able to get a great Gnar ultimate, the fact that Panda and both Ruoff are both going to need to be in certain positions in order to deal the most damage, being able to get a nice Mega Gnar just to push people away could potentially make the difference between winning and losing a team fight. Looking at this composition from Glaive Emerald, you have 4 champions that love to be in team fights with a ton of AoE damage at their disposal. Yep. And then you've also got King Coney going to be playing on that Aatrox, the potential 1v9 champion. My big fear here and my big worry as we look at this composition, very mid to late game oriented. You are going to be just having trouble to be able to get those early objectives, and that is something that Echo on this Wukong should be striving to do and should have the capability to do so as well.
It really feels like whoever can get the ball rolling can set them. Like you're pointing out, Glaive Emerald needs more time to set themselves the game, because even though Aatrox has a little bit more leeway, and then you can try and pressure bot lane thanks to the Morgana, you still has some prowess there. It's the mid lane and the jungle that is the biggest issues, particularly much more so the jungle. Because Fiddlesticks wants to farm to that level 6, but he doesn't want to interact as much as possible. He wants to get that ultimate, he wants to be able to run into the enemy team with ultimate, because that way he can really find the value. He has some other tools that you can make use of, but it's going to be Wolfo trying to rush that level 6, which means that first 6 minutes, first 7 minutes, we have to see Chaotic Energy try to set the pace of the game, see Wukong, like we're pointing out, Echo, run into the enemy jungle, try and put pressure, utilize pushing waves, which Chaotic Energy to a certain degree has. They can really be aggressive with this, like pressure to these Fiddlesticks, try to put him in the dirt, and then with that, just get early objectives, get control of the game, snowball heavily, and that way it's going to be really hard for players.
Yeah, I really do. Like, I want to point. I really want to like discuss this matchup a little bit more in depth between the Fiddlesticks and the Wukong. But it's not just the jungle. It's not just the junglers that need to be focusing on this. This is a huge test of vision for the entirety of both of these teams. For Glade Emerald, you need to be taking control of vision, not only in the river, but you need to try to get objectively vision onto other camps as well. Fiddlesticks does not want to be where Wukong is at. Best case scenario, Wukong in the bottom side of the rift, Fiddlesticks on the top side of the rift. Maybe being able to go in for those raptors, go in for the top side Krugs, and try to be able to get some of those neutral camps away from Echo. So you're really looking to know where the jungler is at all times, and Ruoff cannot do it alone. Cathaldis can provide some assistance, but it's going to be up to the rest of the squad to be able to make sure that Ruoff is able to get to level 6 as soon as possible.
100%. That's the kind of thing that you have to see to look out for, and how will teams get it. I think Blade has a little bit leeway thanks to those effigies that the Fiddlesticks can let behind, thanks to the fact that you can just keep so much of an area controlled, especially even if it has vision, you can deny it. But on the side of Chaotic Energy, they need the tracking to be on point, because we're talking about early on where the Fiddlesticks wants to try and be away from the Wukong, but later on as well, one ward can be the difference between Fiddlesticks backline without anyone noticing and destroying everyone, or everyone being ready to react to the Fiddlesticks, the blast shield on top of the killing, and being able to turn around a team fight immediately. So I really want to see how effective their vision is and how well can they control spaces
TDS,
against this Fiddlesticks.
I think we've discussed these compositions a little bit too much, or not too much, but I think we've discussed them well enough. Currently, we're both 0 for 3. 0 for 3 in Dragon Soul predictions here in the VTS. One of us is going to be right eventually. I'm going to go first. I'm going to say that we're going to see a Hextech Soul and Rift just to shake things up even further for this Fiddlesticks. What are your thoughts, TDS?
I'll stick to my guns. I feel like it's a mountain.
You know, if you just pick mountain every time, one day you will be correct.
I feel like it is. Hopefully, I feel like that has to happen at least once, right?
Rift is going to be here for game number 2. Will Glaive Emerald be able to utilize this late game scaling composition well enough to give them a 2-0 victory against Chaotic Energy, or will their opponents be able to snowball this game before Glaive can get on track? It's going to be a fun one. You won't want to miss it. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift, everybody. Chaotic Energy has a 5-man death squad on the bottom side of the Rift here, folks. Let's see if they get that first blood. No, they will not. Cathaldus will be able to sniff out this 5-man death rush. But hey, it is game number 2 here. GLV Emerald currently 1 up against Chaotic Energy, now looking to be able to go for their game 2 win. How does GLV, other than, Fiddlesticks not dying in the early game, where is their best pressure point here in the early game?
Minions have spawned.
I think that it has to be the Aatrox, because even though I think that bot lane can be a little bit of push advantage, and then you with the Azir can also get some things going, like I think Syndra and Caitlyn Morgana should be a pretty good contest with that. In the top lane though, there will be instances where you can actually try and attack it with the Aatrox and if you're able to just get the fear on top of the Gnar, it should be a pretty easy kill, especially Mini-Gnar. Mini-Gnar is the focus. If you get it on Mini-Gnar, it should be a pretty easy situation to try and get a kill going. And one Aatrox can begin getting game.
Looking at the map bottom side of the Rift, Coney will be able to get a little bit of damage onto I'm Here to Dunk. Not quite getting that third hit of the Darkened Blade, but still half HP on the Gnar is definitely a good sign. Meanwhile, Ruoff is going to be able to pick up his full clear on the bottom side of the Rift, and was seen, however, by that Vision Ward that was dropped before minions spawn. So they will know, at least Chaotic Energy will know, that GLV is on the bottom side of the Rift.
They know, but how can they try to stop this? And much more so, what can they accomplish with this information, right? Level 2 hit, Morgana has Bind, needs to be careful, Aatrox as well, level 2. Ooh, nothing happening here. I was more interested in bot side, honestly.
And it looks, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, see?
Cathaldus, is probably the most pressure that GLV is going to get on the bottom side of the Rift. Early stages of the game, Karma has the power to just be such a menace. And they also know that Ruoff is not going to be there. So this is potentially a good play to start off this game for Chaotic Energy. Let's see if they're going to be able to get it as Echo waiting in the wings. Northman's going to come through, going to be able to get the root on it to Cathaldus. And that's going to be first blood easy for Chaotic Energy.
I'm pretty questionable from the side of GLV, not expecting that coming through. Not the flash, I think flash ignite, perfect play coming in from Chaotic Energy, but the gank was something that happened and will happen if you're ready as the Wukong. So perfectly, they get the first blood. It's not on the killing, which I think would have been the best beneficiary from this kill, but at least it's a good play that they are pulling off and punishing the Karma early on. I think a pretty smart decision and a pretty good capitalization.
They will get it. King Coney will pick up that kill. That's 300 going over the GLV top laner.
That's a pretty great kill and a pretty great development for GLV. Flashing from Fiddlesticks, they get the kill really easily. And with that, they are also going to put pressure, or at least collect this camp, so the Fiddlesticks will be in a really good spot going against Wukong. I'm looking at what's left of the jungle. The Scuttle Crab is also left, not taken yet by the Fiddlesticks, so that's also another place that the Fiddlesticks can do. Really good kill, really good dive, and they just set themselves up to try and get a more late block.
Replay here on the bottom side, you see with Echo on the way, you're going to be able to provide just a little bit of pressure coming through, and then of course you get to see Eric Northman being able to drop that flash into that Dark Binding onto Cathaldus. Really nicely done.
And it's a pretty good flash. When you look at it, right, there was a minion wave in front, which means that you have to commit the flash like that, because if not, it was going to be pretty difficult to actually get the kill or at least the stun onto any of the important targets. So it's a pretty crucial flash and a pretty good execution.
For another jungle camp. Looks like he was able to get some of the chickens there in the on the top side. So that's the second jungle camp that he's been able to take, as King Coney will get hit by the Mega Gnar, going to be down to about a third HP. But really importantly now, that is 2 jungle camps taken away from Echo. No response jungle-wise on the other side of the Rift, and so that means that Ruoff is just going to be able to continue to pick up jungle camp advantages, as Eric Northman can pick up another root onto Wistfully. Really, really good rooting coming in from this Morgana.
He has a pretty good job being able to punish this. I think, yeah, the Fiddlesticks, so it's level 5 plus level 4.
Oh, huge.
Oh, they are committing with this.
Damage coming through. Echo will be able to get away from the clone. But yeah, Smite was consumed by Ruoff to be able to pick up that big chicken. Is now a 16 CS advantage and a classic, beautiful start for a Fiddlesticks.
Doing a really good. Soon enough, going to be hitting that level 6, and Fiddlesticks with that level 6 is going to be a menace for almost anyone. Like, even if the Black Shield comes in the bot lane, you can just target one of the 2 champions down there. So that can turn into something much more positive for GLV. Really nice way to play this early game, and I'm excited to see how it performs.
45 to 29 now. Remember, those extra jungle camps were taken because he was able to pick up the Krugs and the Raptors on Echo's side. Echo has not done any counter jungling so far, and that is the way that you counter a Fiddlesticks, is if you know that the Fiddlesticks is going to be on the bottom side of the rift, go into his top side of the rift and try to take his Krug, or take his Gromp, take his Wolves. Any way to stop him from getting level 6 in the early game is definitely important, but we haven't yet really seen Echo be able to do that yet. He's got that Sheen, he's got that longsword, but Ruoff returns not only with a Fiendish Codex, but his Sorcerer's Boots as well.
Has a lot of value already thanks to that, and has a lot of minion advantage. I think that Echo did a pretty good job with that first gang, and I certainly would have liked to see his aggressiveness a little bit more. But looking at the lane state as well is something that you have to be ready as Echo in the jungle, and I feel like a lot of their laners haven't been able to provide that pressure for the Wukong to go forward like that. There was opportunities, some windows didn't weren't attacked as they could have been, but at the same time I feel like Echo more support the laners, and the laners are, I think, lacking on that as well. Could have been a little bit better. It's much more so of a team, I think a team difficulty than just a straight up Echo. But I think that Echo could have done a little bit more, at least in terms of trying to attend ganks.
Like Echo has been able to take his Krugs, his Red Buff, and his Wolves, but going to, or his Raptors, I mean, but he is still not yet level 6. And now he's going to potentially have to go over to his Wolves and give Ruoff the chance to be able to go in for a play against Dragon Yone. He wants that play. He wants to go in for the Crow Storm. Watch to see if Yone goes a little bit too far forward onto that top side there. Yeah,
there's no flash on the center,
but there is that Emperor's Divide from Panda. Maybe going to get it right now. Going to try to go in, and there he starts. And Dragon Yone.
Oh, they get it. Yep. That one stunned by Dragon Yone ends up being his death sentence, because going that bit forward ends up being the perfect setup for a Panda. Getting that Emperor's Divide into the kill, really nice setup. The cooldowns are a bit longer, but if you get the kill, it's all worth it, and that can put Fiddlesticks even farther ahead because he got the kill.
Back into his own jungle, the safety of his own jungle, and pick up that blue buff, and then has all of the jungle camps on the bottom side, looking to be able to go for it. Might be a little risky, considering that Echo is going to be down there and going to be able to go in for that, that dragon. My goodness, no Infernal Drakes this VTS so far. We've seen Infernal Drakes get utilized in all 4 of the games that we've seen on the raid. No, the Infernal Drake is
Infernal Soul, right? Oh, okay, yeah, so no, that's kind of surprising. I was at least 15-1, but I do remember that last week I called for the soul, and it wasn't coming out, so
yeah,
I cannot say much, and it's going to be Hexing Break.
Oh, the wrong brush. And that's the difficulty of doing that, is Echo is going to be able to come through a nice route from out north, and he's going to be able to pick up that. Will they be able to get it? Yes, they will. The red buff secured for Echo and this Wukong.
Pretty good job, and this is the first time that we've truthfully seen utilizing the pressure in to try and collect something. They get the dragon, but they still had her down there. So they move inside of the jungle, they get vision, and they get a pick. Really nice play coming in from Chaotic Energy, finally making use of what we were talking about with their laners and their jungle. It's not against the Fiddlesticks, but it's still something that we were asking to see. Aatrox
Tony
needs to
going to
be
be down to
careful
about
here.
a third HP, a little bit less than a third HP, but will be able to get away. Does have teleport this time, so is going to be able to run around the map a little bit more. But that second neutral objective, the Fiddlesticks tax, as it were, looking to be secured here as Echo is going to be starting that Rift Herald. See if maybe it gets contested by Ruoff as he is on the way. But not quite yet. I haven't seen it quite yet. And it is going to be secured by Chaotic Energy, so there is that second neutral objective coming through.
I don't think he can. Looking at it, I'm pretty sure he cannot contest this anymore. Too late. It could be a Herald for Chaotic Energy, and what can they achieve with this? They have, I think particularly bot lane should be their priority target, because with Caitlyn they can take down the turret and then finally open up the map. The top lane may be another option, because it is the easiest to try and attack thanks to the fact it's an Aatrox, and it shouldn't be that hard to try and make a dive happen, especially with the Syndra. But I feel like bot lane should be the priority target.
Yeah, right now, Ruoff, I mean, playing as this Fiddlesticks, gonna have that X-Deck Alternator now, gonna be closer to that mythic item, and looking to go for another play against Here to Dunk. Is he gonna be able to get it? He will find the fear, but it is gonna be a 2v1 for the time being. He's gonna be forced to flash away, he's gonna be forced to go bolted, and he's gonna try to be able to get out of this one. Does he survive? He does it. Tony is now gonna be able to go in for the 2v2 as Panda now arrives. Double flash coming in from Dunk and Echo, and they want this play. Emperor's Divide is ready for Panda. Can he get at least one? As we see, meanwhile, in the mid lane, Dragon Yoni is going to be able to get one turret play, maybe even a little bit more, as Here to Dunk is going to try to do what they can. Going to try to be able to pick up a kill. Going to try to be able to keep it alive, and they will not survive. Never Panda. My vision's going to get used on the bottom side of the Rift by Wistfully, but Eric Northman down to less than half HP. Capaldi's going to be able to land the Inner Flame onto Conchu, as the Rift Herald gets dropped in the mid lane. Very chaotic couple of seconds there.
100% amazing of the previous game. We see here how the engage happened. Two really crucial things that you need to take in mind here. First of all, Fiddlesticks doesn't even set the ultimate out. He thinks that he can take the fight, so lacking on a lot of the damage. And second, and I think the most crucial one, Mega Gnar bar is charging him.
Hey, yeah, Wistfully going to be way far forward as we do get Dragon Yoni in a bad spot. Ruff's going to be able to take one as Azir wants that. He sees a multi-kill on his horizon. It's going to be another kill potentially for this Fiddlesticks as Ruff's going to be forced to flash away. Now going to go back forward, wants this kill. Going to be forcing the flash out of Eric Northman. Ruff wants it, and he gets it. Marvin and the double kill.
Oh no!
Wave.
Oh.
How?
I don't know, but I'll tell you, they get everything they wanted. The Gnar dies in the top lane. Not sure how. No flash was on the Gnar, so maybe mini Gnar into just a pretty easy kill. But on the bot side, we come back into the Aphelios force fight from happening. He dies immediately. The rest of members are pretty low. Syndra uses everything in their combos to kill that Aphelios. So same can be said for the rest of the members, and they pay the price in dividends. They end up falling down each members. They couldn't even trade with a Fiddlestick. Really clutch shields into the healing of the Fiddlestick, and it's just impossible. Oh,
he stayed under tower to pay out Dragon and
credit. And talk about value. They get the kill as well onto the Syndra. Yes, you get the mid lane turret. Congrats, but we are getting else. It's what GLV to everyone else, to the side of Chaotic Energy. And close that the Fiddlestick is getting. He now completes the Dark Harvester. That's so much damage in the Fiddlestick is going to deal now.
With the Night Harvester, but then also with First Strike. And we are going to see a play on the bottom side of the Rift Teleport. Right to see now by Cathaldis. He's going to be able to get away. Shock for him turret, able to provide a little bit of protection as well. And that flash is not going to do anything for Chaotic, or I'm sorry, that teleport from Dragon Yoni is not going to do anything for them in terms of the team fight, but they might be looking to be able to get this dragon, this Hex-Tech Drake. I'm going to be correct once again for this Drake prediction. But yeah, you predicted Mountain, right?
Yeah, let's see if
they're going to be able to do it. And let's see if Ruoff gets the Pro Storm that he's looking for. He is currently not on vision. Will he be able to get it as Echo is going to be forced to go away? This is going to be a 5v4. Victoris is not there. Who gets the dragon? It's going to be Echo picking it up. And once again, we're both
oh no.
correct. We need to get QBS on this. because this is another
read. It's 2 weeks in a row. We've been wrong both times, sadly. Hopefully we can turn around this record, but so far it's not going to be the case. What did happen though is that at least Chaotic Energy secures it. They are closer to the soul, but at what price? They traded the soul or the second dragon for the tier 2 top lane turret. That's so much gold that this Aatrox is getting, and there was no teamfight, no kill that Chaotic Energy obtained in that exchange either. So they're just really falling behind the correct answers that really can change them up. Maybe if they find a kill here, we can get away.
Speaking of mine though, you're about 600 gold away for King Tony to be able to pick up that black cleaver, so definitely very close to being able to pick a huge power spike here for this Aatrox. We'll see what else they can get with it. Unfortunately, it looks like Echo decided to go into the mid lane, maybe contest against Panda, but this might just be an elaborate ruse. As Echo's gonna come through, it's gonna be the knockup and the rope through onto Dragon Yuri, who will fall.
Oh, they get it! Panda!
Dead. Echo as the blue will land. It's going to be a little bit of damage now onto the Fiddlesticks. The Fiddlesticks will get shut down. That's 600 gold for Dunk.
You have enough.
He's not going to essentially be in trouble. Can he survive? He's going to be able to get the knockup. He'll be able to get the door drinker healing. He'll be able to dash away. He'll be able to flash away. And he might just be able to survive this one with another dash. I don't know if he's going to be able to get away. He'll get hit by the boomerang.
He's dead, I think.
Speed. He'll get the extra knockup. He'll get another door drinker play.
What?
Absolutely a king. Look at the protection from Cathaldus.
Oh no, and the Northern baited.
And the flash out of Dunk. He'll avoid the boomerang, and he'll survive that play.
The Nor got baited. I think that he's getting, or no one is answering here, but should be a suicide here. That there's no chance that he survives long enough that he actually doesn't just commit suicide and dies. But Aatrox, King Coney, how do you take that out? Should have been a pretty dangerous situation for the Aatrox. Survives long enough, they don't get enough damage to be able to take the kill, and look at the excess healing that the Aatrox has. It's just a pretty easy turnaround. You see that the Fiddlesticks already dies. He's trying to get as much healing as possible. First proc of the gold drinker here, dashes over the wall, flashes on time to ignore the boomerang, and then also Nar has no time on the boomerang yet, so gets the auto and gets the boomerang back, not the auto. If he gets the auto, that is a better chance to get the kill. But it buys enough time for the gold drinker to come back, and that's why the Aatrox doesn't die ever.
Rebound there, massive save of that play for King Coney. 4-0-1 now. Black Cleaver is now secured.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a huge power spike here for this Aatrox. No one can contest this man 1v1 in any side lane. I don't care how good you are. Black Cleaver just gives you so much damage. And he's going to be able to use it really effectively here. As Rift Herald will now get taken by Glaive. Going to be given over to Ruoff, ace in the hole. To land a little bit of damage over to Cathaldus. And that mid-tier 1 tower is on its last legs.
They really want to get this, and at the same time, Chaotic Energy really wants to protect it as well. They're doing a pretty good job of stopping it. Oh, nice trade. Not much. Too much. So, not going to be the worst situation. They are going to be
able to get the fear. Cathaldus going to potentially probably the extra movement speed. Not going to be enough. Cathaldus, though, going to be going and dying into the Shadow Realm.
Oh, they get killed.
Whistler's going to be able to come through. Going to be able to get the Moonlight Vigil. And that's going to be one.
But here's...
That's going to be potentially 2 kills. Cody, yes it is.
Look at the damage.
Die in the process. And it's absolutely key. Great growth from coming in from Ruoff. Going to be able to get one.
Oh.
Going to be able to potentially get a second one from Dragon Yone. No, he doesn't. He gets hit by the turret. That kill. And is going to be able to pick up Dragon Yone, however, and gets another one. That's an ace for Glaive, and Whistler's still alive.
They get the ace, and the AD carry is still alive. Like you're pointing out, that means free farm and free gold. Everything that carries always want to get. But even though they killed the raid boss, King Coney, it doesn't matter. Because even though the Aatrox dies, you have so much damage on other members, and you committed a lot trying to kill this Aatrox that you're missing out on things that can use onto other targets. Great positioning of the ultimate as well. Gets on top of 2 targets. Black Shield comes in way too late and cannot do anything. Here you can see that the Philistine dies sadly, but it's just so perfectly set up for them to really get everything that they wanted. I think if Panda commits a little bit harder here, maybe he can get the kill, but even then, it's 4-4-5, and you're still keeping your AD carry alive. So 3 gold for him can get closer to that second item and really begin dealing damage.
Coming through here
That is
from
cool.
the Salvis with the
Wait.
Night Harvester and the Shard of True Life.
Yeah.
To be able to deal that poke damage as the break is now up. If Chaotic Energy is able to get it, it would be so convenient for them. Ritro's gonna get spawned in the mid lane and will be looking forward as well. That is gonna be trouble for Chaotic Energy if they cannot get this dragon down soon. Panda will be taking a little bit of damage from that scatter. The weak will be okay. And both teams just in a standoff.
And they're waiting for it, but right now the one that benefits the most is GLV because they have the Herald that you were pointing out. They just, if you wait too much, they're going to get so much value with that. So they are trying to burn it out before GLV can respond according to it.
Another great counter from Dragon Yoni, but Echo's gonna come through. He's gonna get a nice knock on the look at the Emperor's Device from Panda. A double
They can't!
here, and that's gonna be on dead. It is for Beast waiting now. Rick Herald is still doing damage to the mid lane, and King Cody is not survive. On to the Aatrox, but at what cost to the base of Chaotic Energy? What? What? That binding did not hit Panda? I can't believe that one. But it doesn't matter
Riot.
for Eric Dorfman. It's an ace for Glaive.
Yeah. Ask Riot about their hitboxes, they will answer you. But just like you were talking about, base getting destroyed, another charge for this Herald. Yeah, it completely almost took down the turret. That is so much damage. GLV is just on pace to be able to clean up this game at this point. So much damage from their backline. They kill Aatrox and the Fiddlesticks straight, but you cannot deal with the rest of the members. It's really on Dragon Yone to be able to win this fight. And even then, it just feels like as soon as Syndra runs out of fuel, this game is going to be doomed. Like, look at this fight. They get the CC onto the Aatrox here, kills him thanks to the binding, but who cares? You're killing the kidney, then you get the dragon, move back into position to kill this Syndra because her combo is already down, especially after this point, and then it's just so easy to get the kills.
Yeah,
I really don't know how that missed. I swear.
I'm gonna have to speak to somebody's manager about that one. Oh, that was a little weird. Meanwhile, though, it's support v support fight. Cathaldus, though, with that Night Harvester is going to deal more damage than Northman. As you can see in the bottom lane, King Tony didn't be able to take down Dragon Yone, and that's just Baron secured for Glaive. Oh.
That was Baronless King Coney.
Yeah.
Oh no. Okay.
This
is becoming harsh to see.
Definitely where the fights are at. No one is dying recklessly, and you really have to look at that last dragon fight to really just capitalize on how well Glaive as a team plays the map.
Really, that looked so nice. The pre-fight setup, how everything went down. It was really nicely done by Glaive. And I like that they went with the Herald play because it just meant that there was no right answer for Chaotic Energy. The only one was protecting your base, but giving up one of your main win conditions. So they certainly had to pull the trigger at that point. I feel like it maybe could have been played a little bit better. But Glaive it wasn't giving a lot of inches for the side of Chaotic Energy. It's kind of hard to
feels like your Chaotic Energy is playing a little bit chaotic here. They don't really have a full identity, but we can talk about that after this game, as it does look like we are going to see another different tower go down. It will fall, and a nice low for.
Oh no!
Follow up as we get massive damage from this Ophelia Inferno.
Oh no!
Be able to get a quadra victory, Kenta, and he can't essentially get these kills he needs them now. Can he get the penta? Can he get it? Can he be able to get the grab from root on to Anchu? Anchu's gonna fall to the rope because he makes up to the Caitlyn, and there it is.
Yeah, there's no penta.
2-0 in a pretty dominant game too.
In pretty good fashion. I think there's still things to correct here and there, obviously, but I think a much improved version of the first game, still looking really aggressive into a lot of what they want to do, and they are playing, I think, really great. For their the second game, I think they played really nicely for what Ruoff wanted to do, and then also for what King Connie can achieve. And I think that they executed on that really effectively.
I was talking about it in the podcast on Tuesday, talking about how teams either want to build towards the early side of the game and focus in on being able to get those early objectives, or focus in on the late game to be able to get that snowball, or not that snowball, but just that hyper scaling that you're able to get. GLV Emerald was able to do really well in the mid game, and even in the early game, to be able to pick up early kills for King Coney, for Ruoff, and even for Panda to just start that hyper scaling sooner rather than later. And I think it falls on Chaotic Energy for not capitalizing on how weak of a team GLV was in the first 10-12 minutes of the game. Moving forward, I would have liked to have them seen, be more aggressive in the early stages, take those risky plays, because if you don't take those risky plays and if you don't take those advantages early on, you're not going to be able to win in the late game, and that's exactly what GLV was able to do. 25 minutes in, they were just unstoppable.
It was really harsh at certain points, and it feels like certainly they found more avenues to try and punish the early game, and this is something that we talked in Grab. Early punishments against the Fiddlesticks can set a snowball going for you, and if you get a snowball going, it's going to become hard for League to force fights, because they wouldn't have vision control. They cannot set up for these Fiddlesticks to get the team fighting that he wants to do. But after a certain point, they had so much goal on Glaive, there was no punishment that could lead through that could turn around everything, and it was just easier for Chaotic Energy to really for GLV Emerald to really set the pace of the game and make it what they wanted to. So I hope that Chaotic Energy can improve on this, because I think that there was good ideas here and there. I just think that the execution on a lot of those things
for
were
sure.
normal.
And with that being said, that's going to do it for at least us here at the Caster's Desk. If you guys enjoyed the content, we are both on Twitter. I'm on Twitter at Moosecaster. TDS, you're a busy man right now. I'm seeing you in TFT, Legends of Runeterra. You're probably playing some Rocket League and some Fall Guys or something. We can find you at TDS Casts. I mean, just one of the best in the business. Always fun to be able to cast with you as always. TDS, do you have anything special going on in the next week or so?
Sadly, as far as I know, no. I finished with my ages, so I'm a pretty free man, but if anyone is looking for anything, I'm always available. And Moose as well. I hope that we get more chances in ETS, so it's going to be great. Hopefully
for sure. Yeah, of course, guys. Thank you guys all so much for enjoying the casting side of things. We're going to take it back to the analyst desk to break down game 2 and then end the show. But until next time, guys, stay safe and see you guys later. Analyst desk, back to you.
Thank you so much, Moose and TDS, for casting tonight, and of course, audience, make sure you give them your support as well. But man, what a convincing series from the side. Okay, convincing, maybe the wrong word, but definitely a very dominant series from GLV Esports in both Game 1 and especially in Game 2. They just were running the map and running the game without any real hope of comeback, aside from a few funny blunders in the mid-game stages. But, a lethal instinct and the ability to close out games is something a lot of teams don't have. So very commendable to GLV there. But looking at that second game, we had some, at the very least for me, I had some worries about the magic damage from the side of Fiddle and Azir being stacked together. Typically, you don't want Fiddle to have another competing AP carry with him. But Quinn, you notice that it actually wasn't as bad as it could have been due to the champions selected by the side of Chaotic Energy. So I want to hear you break that down for the audience here, in case they were as confused about that as we were.
So I was definitely surprised to see the Fiddle and Azir come through on the same rotation, because usually if you're trying to draft like excessive extra magic damage, you want to wait until you see the enemy's magic resist opportunities. But fortunately for Glaive, Chaotic Energy ended up with very poor magic resist options, right? They end up with Syndra, whose Banshee's Veil loses to the Azir. They have Morgana, who realistically is going to get far enough into her build to find any meaningful magic resist. Caitlyn, theoretically could build a Hex Drinker, but it delays the Infinity Edge spike. It's not very good for a champion who typically wants to play aggro. And we just ended up in this position where by the end of it, like even Wukong can't just go into Hex Drinker. He has to contend with Nephelios. He's going to have to interact with Aatrox. Gnar is laning against the Aatrox. There wasn't a lot of compelling magic resist early in anyone's build. So we even get to the point where the Karma is opting into the First Strike Night Harvester build, even delayed by an early Sork Shoes, which, you know, you should have heard me on backstage. I was so frustrated that this wasn't a Mikhail's Rush Karma game. Like, I love Night Harvester as much as the next guy on Karma. I really didn't think it was the time for it. Despite that, 3 full magic damage dealers still wasn't a problem for this particular draft.
Yeah, and honestly, actually, aside from a couple of Merc Treads, nobody on the side of Chaotic Energy even opted into Magic Resist, apart from the Wukong, who ended up picking up the Maw of the Malmortius. So, in the end, like you said, it just ended up being really poor itemization. You know, I sort of theorized. I went into the Mind Palace, the Sherlock Mind Palace, and I was like, what if we went Lethal Tempo Machine Gun Caitlyn with Wit's End? Then we have the Magic Resist for our carry. And, you know, that would have been not good. And that's that. But it would have at least been something.
I can't even call it poor itemization from Chaotic Energy in the Magic Resist department, because they just didn't have options, right? They could not answer that sort of thing. So, like, kudos to the Wukong for trying. He still has to contend with Aphelios Aatrox running at him. The natural armor is not necessarily enough. So, I mean, honestly, the one thing we could criticize is if you're in that position, you just have so much hybrid damage coming at you, maybe opt into the Death Stance. But, you know, nobody had much money that game.
Yeah. Nobody had much money, for sure. They were 13k gold down at the end. Kevbo, what can you really take away from sort of how Chaotic Energy faltered towards in both of these matches, but particularly in game 2, where they just, even in the fights where they were winning, they still found a way to lose it?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that really was biggest for me was how well both the jungle and the mid laner paired up in the early game. The 2v2s were really well executed. I think some of the best synergy I've seen between players at any level of play. Able to set up the shuffle into the Crow Storm very effectively. I was really impressed by that, and I think that's really where they started losing super hard. Was because of how much work the Fiddlesticks was getting done with those Crow Storms. There was that scuffle as well pretty early in the game towards bot, where Fiddle just ended up getting like 3 or 4 kills, something like that. And I think at that point, like, just the zone control that you get from Crow Storm and Shuffle was just so hard for Chaotic Energy to fight into.
All right. Well, with that in mind, we do have to talk about MVP. I do not believe we're going to be doing a vote today, just because I don't think any of us have access to putting up a vote. Anybody here? Because that requires either a mod or access to the main channel. But it'd be a bit much, and I don't think we have a mod online right now who is free to do that. So we're just going to talk about the MVP. I would love to, in my heart, give it to the jungler, but yeah, King Coney played very well. We decided on it sort of behind the scenes, but yeah, King Coney absolutely dominating the game in that game too. A literal raid boss, the dream Aatrox you want to see, just running people over. I think a highlight of the game was Aatrox dead to rights, dipping into a bush and deciding, I'm gonna turn this, and doing it. So, very commendable from King Coney.
Yeah, I mean, King Coney pulled out the Fiora counterpick in game 1, piloted it to great success, excuse me. Then just turned around the matchup, said, no, I'm playing the Aatrox. I'm going to look very impressive on it. You don't have the same amount of counterpicks that I do. So I'm just going to show you how it's done. Excellent performance. You know, the whole team played well overall, but it was hard to not look at the top lane.
Kevbo, do you agree with this, or do you have a different opinion?
My opinion is that the player that played Blitzcrank and won on it automatically is my MVP.
Let's go.
Also,
absolutely.
Like we flamed them a little bit for the build in the second game, but that first game on Blitzcrank was extremely impressive. And I think they still played just very well in the second game. You know,
I mean, but no,
like
how
you said,
giga-based is it to lock in Blitzcrank and then follow it up with Night Harvester Karma?
Yeah, the most based gamer, we have to say. If we're going based purely on who is the least cringe player, it has to be Cathaldus. But, you know, unfortunately we're going based on, you know, game score and performance overall and building items properly. Even if it was a little cringe, you know, unfortunately sometimes cringe wins games.
Yes!
Even if we wish it didn't. So yeah. Yeah, it is what it is. You know, pick more Blitzcrank. If there were 2 Blitzcranks, you know, maybe we would have considered. But congrats to Conky for the big W and the MVP, and of course, congrats to GLV Esports overall. And for Chaotic Energy, don't worry about it. Next week is another week. You can certainly pull it back with enough hopes and dreams. And there were some good looks this week, so don't go away with your heads held completely in disappointment. You know, always be able to bounce back and look towards future victories, future potential victories, for sure. But with that said, I'm checking their matchups for next week. Next week, GLV will be facing up against Kiss, who, you know, they're the team to watch for sure. The top logo in the league. Kiss, they are currently 1-1 in terms of series and had a good performance against SLK. So that will be a very decisive matchup to see whether GLV is on the top or bottom end of the table. And for CE, they'll be facing up against CC, and I sure hope we don't have to. No offense, but that, for me at least, that'll get a little confusing. Following those teams, granted, Chaotic Energy and Charity Flare,
Clarity.
I think.
We can handle the full names, just not the acronyms.
Well, the acronyms will be a little spicy, but I think the full names are perfectly fine for those teams, and I wish them the best of luck. I think it'll be another decisive matchup to see how these teams stack up against each other and who has a better shot of making it to playoffs, because by week 3, if you have not found a win, it is going to be a lot harder for you to sneak into playoffs. So good luck to all the teams next week, and yeah, good luck to the teams who still have to play their week 2 matches. But with that said, believe it is time for us to wrap up here. I'm Becky Rita. Kevbo, any final things you want to say to the audience? Anything you want to plug? Any words of wisdom?
All my hopes and dreams have come true for this evening. So no, I don't have anything to say other than make sure to catch us on the other nights that we are available here streaming. I know Becky at least does VRD, I believe, on Thursdays.
You think I'm VRS? No, I was just subbing 2 weeks in a row.
Okay.
Maybe I'll be back next week though. We don't know yet.
Either way, be sure to check out VAS on Wednesday. I'll be there doing some color casting as well as our weekly podcast. I believe we've locked down as going to be a Wednesday night after VAS kind of thing. So be sure to check that out as well. There's a lot more content and funny stuff happening on the podcast. So be sure to catch that.
Yeah, the podcast is a fun time. If you want something a little more relaxed, a little more low-key, something to put on in the background, and hopefully have a solid guffaw while you're doing, I don't know, whatever you're doing at 11:30 a.m. at night. 11:30 a.m. at night? p.m. at night. Whatever you're doing at night, hanging out, chilling with a cup of nice warm milk before you go to bed. Turn on the podcast. It's a good time. Quinn, anything you'd like to say?
Yep, I've enjoyed my time tonight. We saw some good games. I just want to throw it out there that any team who on broadcast can play a control comp very proficiently and not go for random fights, immediately I'm going to become biased. That's my favorite team. I want to watch that. I'll be appearing momentarily on the draft show tomorrow, I think. Yeah, tomorrow.
Yes.
So
the draft show.
That should be exciting. I do have to, unfortunately, reveal my own level of play because we're going to be showing myself off in the VRD a little bit, but yeah. So make sure to tune into that. Should be a good time. We should see some interesting teams come together.
Yeah, the draft leagues are always very exciting. And that is actually what I wanted to plug, of course. The draft show is tomorrow night at 8 p.m. We will see first the VRD, then the VAD drafts go through. This will be, it's a snake draft. The different captains will come on and sort of give their thoughts and explain some of their reasoning about the draft, about their drafting decisions, and then they'll go into the mix and hopefully assemble a team of players that can find themselves in the grand finals of the league and not washed out in semifinals. Or I made it to quarters. Who am I kidding? I didn't even make it to semis. Washed out in quarterfinals like I was. And it is a fun time, and it's full of a lot of good memes and good banter. So definitely tune into that. I will be watching with in horror as I hope that I don't get drafted by a captain who will just be a sunken ship at the very beginning. That's an advantage of being a captain, is you don't have the threat of being drafted by a captain who is going to make you waste $20. So that's an advantage you have.
That's so mean. Yeah, we're gonna see how that goes. I have the fortune, or the misfortune, fortune, whichever, of just discovering that I've become a captain a few days ago. So
congratulations. Congratulations.
Put me in, coach.
Yep. That'll be some exciting stuff, and make sure you check that out. And if you want to check me out, I'm just usually on Fridays, but I kind of just do. I just show up because I'm terminally online and I'm available for most jobs I can fill in here for Victoris. So you'll probably see me on other nights, and you'll definitely see me on the podcast when that is hosted, whenever that is. So with that said, that is all the time we have here. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for tuning in this evening. Follow the stream. Subscribe if you want to support the stream. Follow us on Twitter. Type !Discord if you would like to get in on the action yourself. And we will see you all next week for more Victoris Triumph Series action. Have a great night, everybody, and have a great weekend.